Hey, howdy do. What's up? I'm back with another drawing video, and the interesting thing about this one is I plan on doing some real-time inking, kind of just while I talk about stuff. But the funny thing is, as all of my videos tend to do, it takes several tries. And, because of that, because I'm still inking, and I'm not going to undo the inking I did, I'm already almost done. So, this is from like 5 different recording attempts. But, yeah, hopefully we'll still have something to ink by the time I actually manage to say what I want to say. But hi, hello, how are you? I'm going to be doing some real-time inking, and what I'm actually working on is a 10-panel demo for 9. So I can just go ahead and show you some of these. There are backgrounds too, it's just they're not visible right now, so I can focus on the characters. Except that one, I made that one. But yeah, so this is just a quick 10-panel demo for 9. I'm actually going to be uploading this on Webtoon, so if you're interested in the story by the time I'm done talking about it, you can go ahead and go to the description, follow it, and yeah, you'll stay updated for when I actually make the real thing. Because this isn't canon, this is just a style test. I've made a lot of mangas, and I've also kind of figured out why it's a bad idea to figure it out as you go. So I'm just making this small test just so I know how I'm going to do what I want to do and kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. So that's why the test. Only problem is I kind of wish I had more things to ink in real time. It's just this takes a couple of tries and now I'm already almost done. But yeah, I figured the things that I can talk about in this video are actually going to be about the story. I don't talk a lot and draw real time, so I'm sorry if I'm just scatterbrained or like quiet and just everywhere, because it's easier to have a conversation with somebody or live stream. But when it's exclusively talking to yourself in the universe, I don't know why that one's hard for me. But yeah, so 9's story is... Okay, I feel like I should kind of clarify. This character is named 9, but it's a code name. The story is also named 9, so her real name is not 9, her real name is Nova. But the main premise of the story is that if someone dies and comes back to life on their own, not through like any medical help or anything, that person has a special kind of soul and they develop an ability. Just by getting through that, you'll develop some form of supernatural skill. I'm not talking like being able to fly or whatever, but they do develop some form of superhuman skill. And yeah, the premise of the story is that those can be harvested. So, if somebody had that skill and they die, again, but this time for good, and you have a way of storing that skill, whoever gets that soul will have that ability. And the main conflict comes from a villain. His name is Suture. He's pretty much a medical doctor who's versed in every single kind of medical practice. So, whether it be related to eyes, ears, vision, whatever, like he knows how to do it. And he was in war, so, he knows how to do it extremely well. He's a war surgeon. And, he lost his lungs in that process, but now he's been using like several different methods to keep himself alive, and this led him to a bunch of human experimentation that he kind of realized he really liked. So now he's actually doing a bunch of tests on people, and he started his own hospital that has every single division. But because that hospital, if something like that were real, it'd be super successful. So of course he's super successful and money isn't a factor anymore, so he doesn't care about money. Instead, he makes deals with people, which is kind of like making deals with the devil. So, if you have a kid who has, one lung and they're not going to make it, he can help them, but he'll make a deal with you. So it'll be like, oh yeah, I'll fix this kid up and you'll owe me. But the thing is, he's also very versed in chemical brainwashing. So every time he performs a surgery on someone, he'll kind of put in some insurance measures. So if you turn against the deal, he can insta-kill you. which, he has actually done with a bunch of public figures and leaders in the city he lives in. It's like, oh, he saved a really important mayor. And if that mayor goes back on their word, he can say a certain word and they'll die of a heart attack or an aneurysm. So, he's a very manipulative person. Well, the thing is, the only people that are compatible with the special kind of souls I mentioned before are actually people who die and come back as well on their own. So, not everyone's compatible, but Suture is. And, since he's running a hospital, he does run into a lot of people who die and come back on their own while in the hospital. So, he has actually taken those people and killed them again and harvested their soul for storage. So, he has a bunch of latent abilities and stuff that are all inside of soul canisters where he'll store them. And, that's in the hopes of he'll be able to find some form of cure for his issue because, his lungs are destroyed and he can't do the surgery on himself. But yeah, so he tries to find souls that are compatible and just starts harvesting them. And the main conflict of the story happens with Nine, which is this person. She actually died as a kid in an explosion and came back on her own, like, one does. But the thing is, it left her deaf. So she makes a deal with Suture to restore her hearing. She already invented her own hearing aid device thing that looked kind of like cat ears, but Suture decides to echo that. So he decides to make synthetic ears. They are flesh and blood, but, he didn't literally go up to a cat and he's like, all right, catto, meow, takes their ears. He actually made synthetic ears for her and gave them to her, but he also put her under the chemical brainwashing because he knows that she survived that. So he wants to harvest and see what her skill is, which turns out to be superhuman hearing. So when he gives her the ears, she actually has crazy hearing. And she, finds out about everything that's going on in the hospital. All of the other subjects are kind of already brainwashed and stuff, and she is too for a time. Here's the thing. They're not mindless. They can still do whatever they want. But, for example, if Suture says sleep, you'll pass out. Or, if he tells you to take a dirt nap or something, you'll just insta-die. So he's very hard to go against. But Nine actually runs into this cat, which turns out to be like a cat god thing that harvests extra lives as well, just in a natural way. And this cat is found inside of Suture's laboratory. So she realizes, oh, this is how Suture's been harvesting souls. He's just been, manipulating that cat. Well, she helps the cat escape and dies in the process. But the cat actually helps her out and helps her come back to life. But, surprisingly, she took all of the extra lives by accident instead of just one. So now Nine is also capable of dying multiple times. But the thing is, none of those lives are hers and they don't belong to the cat. Those are still unique, living people. And she finds that out. So she's like, oh, if I die, it's not killing me. It's killing other people. It's these, souls that, well, technically, the people are already dead, but, they'll be destroyed for good. So what she wants to do is actually help these people be put to rest. So it kind of becomes a cat and mouse chase, between Suture and Nine. But she wants to help all these people be free, whereas Suture wants them to be harvested. And yeah, there is actually a character that Nine is fighting against here because, Suture did a lot of experimentations on different people. So, of course, he has a lot of dummies and experiment victims. But the thing is, Nine's the only one who's ever been able to break free. So she's the only one that is, 100% free, whereas everyone else is being manipulated. And I'll kind of go into the backstory of one of them as we get to inking her, because this is actually a sequence of Nine fighting one of them. And yeah, I feel like I should go without saying, but this story is kind of dark. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it is kind of dark. Because, Nine's going to have a lot of psychological issues from dying over and over again and having survivor's guilt. But all of the characters kind of have that unique problem. So, for example, the person that she's fighting is here. Their name is Ceniza, which is Spanish for ashes. Her deal is that when she was a little kid, she had a terminal illness that her parents tried to cure, so they went into debt and stuff for it. Uh, and nothing was working, and they went bankrupt and stuff. So they actually started to resent Sanisa. Um, and then Suture showed up one day when she was a little kid and said, like, "Hey, I'll take her off of your hands. I'll cure her, and I'll pay your debts. But the deal is that I can." Like, I take her, she's mine now. They're like, take her, we hate her. And he pretty much starts experimenting on her. She's a normal person, but as soon as Suture finds out about the soul transfer, he injected her with one of the souls and then tested her extensively to find out what that was. So she was subjected to several different kinds of torture until they found out that her ability is being able to burn alive and not die. But the ability wasn't complete. The skills develop. It's kind of like being good at something. You got to practice it. So he actually set her on fire multiple times until she developed 100% burn tolerance. Because he can control these people, and it's useful to have people that can do that. And she's not the only one. There were a bunch of other people, but she got burned alive over and over until she developed a tolerance to that, and also developed the ability to set things on fire by touching them. And because she's under Suture's control, she's sent to go after Nine. So Suture wants all the souls back, but Nine has them because those are kind of what is giving her the respawns. So he knows that, and he wants them back. So he's sending other people to hunt her down until he hunts her down himself. And yeah, it just becomes an interesting game of cat and mouse, and about who's going to use the souls better, because Suture could progress medicine and stuff with them with the knowledge from those souls. So he's crazy good at what he's doing, but those souls should be set free. So it kind of becomes like a moral gray area of like, oh well, who's right? But yeah, that's the conflict in the story, and I'm done with the character inking. Now that I've kind of explained a little bit about the story, of course there's more. There's a bunch of different characters. For example, one of them is an old man who he died on his own already, but he came back. So he was injected with a soul that anyone he looks at can have lucid nightmares even if they're awake, and he can torment you to the degree that you'll actually want to die. So Nine needs to deal with a bunch of people like that while also trying to set the other people free. And also, I don't know if I mentioned this, or at least in this iteration, because I said, I've recorded this same commentary over and over again a lot. But this is actually going to be available on Webtoon. The story is going to be free to read. So, I will actually probably have it in the description for anybody to read, this sample thing. So this isn't the actual story. This is just a style guide to help me figure out what the story is going to look like. But I will upload this on Webtoon. So if you want to follow the story for when it actually comes out later, you're already following it. You'll get the updates and you're good to go. But the thing is, I'm not paid by Webtoon to make this. This is just a passion project. I don't think Webtoon would pay me to make this. It's a little too messed up. But it's also not in color. It's going to be black and white like traditional manga, but it's also going to be in a horizontal format, so you can still read it a little bit better. So it's like a hybrid of a manga and a Webtoon. So I don't know how necessarily that's going to work, but hopefully the lack of color will be made up for in the detail, because this is a passion project, and I've made several manga before already. So kind of what I want to prioritize in this one is quality. I want to take my time. I want to make it really good, but that will make it take time. So I'm estimating that this will be updated probably once every month and a half to 2 months. But, it'll be art of this caliber, and there'll be long updates. They won't be short ones. So, if you're still interested, you can go ahead and check that out. That'll be in the description. And like I said, this is a passion project. I'm not being paid to make it. But if you are interested in following the story, I do have a Patreon. So, I'll be posting updates there. but I am also still going to be working on YouTube videos and painterly style drawings and everything of that nature, kind of like I've been doing. So, you know, if you follow the Patreon, you're getting more than just the manga. And, you know, if I release tutorials from there, I'm still going to make them free. So they'll be free for everyone. Pretty much what you're doing by supporting my Patreon is making it so that's just money that'll go back into making stuff like this. It isn't necessarily to pay for anything very exclusive other than like, you know, full res images. But if I have real-time drawing videos, they'll be on my second channel. So if you want to know how I do more of this stuff later or look at some of the live streams I make, they'll all be over there. Or, you know, if there's tutorials, they'll be here. They'll also be on Patreon, but for free. So it's really just like, if you like what I do, then you can go ahead and check it out. But, you know, most of this is free. And yeah, by the time that this video is up, this should be up on Webtoon. So I'll go ahead and link that. But, you know, that's enough self-promotion for now. If you guys liked the story or, you know, you liked the video, then go ahead and let me know. You know, I'd love to hear some conversations of the lore. Like, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think of the story itself? What do you think about doing a manga style format on Webtoon? Is it a bad idea? Is it a horrible idea? You think it doesn't matter? Let me know. But yeah, I will see you guys later, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.